안녕하세요, 여러분. 토방TV입니다. 토방. 오늘은 안데르센 작가님 말씀을 들어볼게요.
Life itself is the most wonderful fairy tale. Where words fail, music speaks. To travel is to live. Enjoy life. There's plenty of time to be dead. Every man's life is a fairy tale written by God's fingers. The whole world is a series of miracles, but we're so used to them we call them ordinary things. To move, to breathe, to fly, to float, to gain all while you give, to roam the roads of lands remote, to travel is to live. The most wonderful thing in the world is somebody who knows who they are and what they're meant to be. Just living is not enough. One must have sunshine, freedom, and a little flower. But a mermaid has no tears, and therefore she suffers so much more. When words fail, tears speak. A duckling that is born in a hen's nest is a chicken. Wherever you go, life is a poem. But the nightingale made no answer, for she sang to the emperor from her heart. Life is like a beautiful melody, only the lyrics are messed up. To be of use to the world is the only way to be happy. The sunbeam kissed the tears from her eyes and they shone like diamonds. The flower faded and the butterfly lived forever. Everything you look at can become a fairy tale, and you can get a story from everything you touch. Life is the most precious thing we have. Love it and live it to the fullest. It doesn't matter about being born in a duckyard, as long as you are hatched from a swan's egg. To be born in a duck's nest, in a farmyard, is of no consequence to a bird, if it is hatched from a swan's egg. The greatest treasures are those invisible to the eye but felt by the heart. Life is a journey that must be traveled no matter how bad the roads and accommodations. The sea does not reward those who are too anxious, too greedy, or too impatient. One should lie empty, open, choiceless as a beach, waiting for a gift from the sea. Our life is the march of the centuries, the birthplace of every sunrise, the cradle of every emotion. When you can tell the story and it doesn't bring up any pain, you know it is healed. Nature has given us neither the power of enduring pain nor of being pleased with it. People who don't dream are like the sky without stars. To endure is to triumph. Adventure is worthwhile in itself. In every shadow, no matter how deep, there is light waiting to emerge. The whole world is a series of miracles, but we're so used to them we call them ordinary things. The point of living, and of being an optimist, is to be foolish enough to believe the best is yet to come. The most wonderful thing about a book is that you can take refuge in it. First you must endure, then pity, then embrace. It doesn't matter if you're born in a duckyard, so long as you are hatched from a swan's egg. A human life is a story told by God. People who travel, whether by sea, sky, or land, find themselves transformed in some way by the journey. The snail could take his time and would still reach far places sooner than the ant. It is the power of thought that gives man power over nature. But a princess is a delicate thing. The fir tree said to the bramble, "You are entirely without resources, not a single fruit or flower do you produce, and yet you want to shoot up so high." Death walks faster than the wind and never returns what he has taken. The little mermaid bowed her head in grief and looked at the spears of the sun with tears in her eyes. He looked at the great red sun, which was shining so beautifully on the topmost boughs of the trees, as if it were setting the whole world on fire. But the heart spoke to her in quite a different way. It reminded her of suffering and death, and she saw it clearly before her. He at last opened his eyes, but he knew that he was dying in the cold sea. I will prepare myself, said the tiny sea maiden. I will be strong, and fearless in thought as in deed. The stars shone in the sky, and the moonbeams kissed the earth, and told tales of the prince's goodness. The eyes of the princess were filled with tears as she thanked the poor girl. The flowers hung down so gracefully over the water, that they knew not which were their own reflections in the water, and which were the real flowers. His eyes and mouth spoke to her from every leaf. And she looked up at the green mountain, and thought that the little bird had fluttered up there and sat in its nest. Then the nightingale sang a second song, and still a third. It was as if silver bells rang through the country. Every step she took was like treading upon sharp knives. The flames lighted up the sky, and the star of the wise men's faith shone more brightly than ever. Little Gerda still wandered on. Between the hedges of snowdrops she came at last to a large cherry orchard, where stood a little house with remarkable blue and red windows. And the cradle flew with her out of the window into the chestnut tree. Gerda sprang up and did not feel either pain or sorrow. Her shoes were dear to her, but yet more so was the little pair of new boots, which were not given to her, but belonged to the robber, and which she therefore carried off. The bright sunshine streamed through the trees on the merry little child, but she cared not for the sunshine. The prince, meanwhile, had been calling to his sister and begging her to come to him. A ball of fire surrounded her, so that it was difficult to see whether she was a living being or a spirit. The little girl was fair and delicate, but in the dark eyes there shone the spirit of an angel. They told him about the pleasures of the world, and the chief one was money. Then the bird appeared to change into a tall lady, who was no other than the princess, Rosette herself. Like the rest of the men, he is not content with that which God has given him. He wants to pry into the secrets.
안녕하세요, 여러분. 토방TV입니다. 토방. 영상이 좋으셨다면 구독, 좋아요, 알림 설정 해주세요.